AITAH because I call my psycho ex unrelated child my Naughter. June 15, 2024. Buckle up. 15 years ago I was 25 and was finishing my contract, and my then GF of 3 years Natalie was acting increasingly strange. I came back from a 2-month assignment and was prepared to break up with Natalie. She came by and gave me the good news she was pregnant. I asked how far along she was. She said 5 weeks, so I broke it off with her and told her she needed to do better at math. She refused the breakup and insisted the baby was mine, so I told her the following: 1, paternity test, and 2, if the child was mine, we can talk about financial support and custody arrangements with lawyers. She refused both and told everyone we both knew that I was a deadbeat for knocking her up and leaving her. I told everyone I was on a 2-month assignment when she conceived, but a few insisted for the sake of decency I house her and give her limited support. I consulted a lawyer about this mess, and the lawyer made it very clear that any overt support I give could be seen as me taking responsibility, so I told these friends that and most dropped it, except one guy, who again insisted that charity couldn't be used as a legal cudgel like that. I told him if he believes that he can house her, he agreed to drop it after that. Child was born and not even going to do the whole shot. Didn't look like me because most babies are born with squished faces, and all I saw were the pics she sent me with messages like "Emma wants to know where daddy is" and shit. She still refused to take any paternity tests, but her constantly showing up with that baby got to the point where I filed an RO. Fun fact: in my state, a permanent RO is not, in fact, permanent. It is 2 fucking years long. The only way to get it longer is if there was a violent crime associated, and apparently bugging someone with a baby that's not theirs is not a violent crime. So my life for the last 14 years was me renewing the RO every 2 years because, once it clears, Natalie shows up again with my not child. I did eventually find a nice girl, get married, and now I have 9-year-old son, Henry. My wife Kim is well aware of Natalie and Emma. When the cycle begins again, I always say the same thing: 1, paternity test. 2, once paternity is proven, I will take custody and get financial support set up. Natalie always refuses and says both are insulting. Recently the cycle started again, and this time Emma showed up first. She approached my son during a school event visit to the zoo and said, "Hi, I'm your big sister Emma. Henry knows about stranger danger," and ran away to a teacher. I had to have a very painful talk to the teachers and parents that were at the event about my relationship with Emma and Natalie, and how Emma was never my daughter. I even called her my Naughter once or twice in the conversation. After the group disbanded, one of the mothers confronted me and said that while Natalie was in the wrong telling this poor child I was her father, calling her my Naughter was mocking this situation. I kind of get where she's coming from, just I can't help this child. And the honest truth is, playing light of the 2-year cycles is the closest I can get to finding peace in the situation. Additional information from Boop on his same responses to multiple questions about custody and DNA tests. Edit: to answer the repeated question. In my state, the mother has to start the petition for the father to be established and the test to start. There is no instance where a father can start the petition. There was a chance to do this when Emma was born, but the window was exactly 1 month, and I was much too focused on the RO, not thinking the paternity angle would bite me in the butt. One last time, to everyone saying just ask for custody, that'll force DNA test. Literally can't be done. Been through this enough with a lawyer, and have consulted with other lawyers. There are laws protecting children, and a lot of them exist for good reason. I'll explain it the way my lawyer explained it. Imagine there's a woman that ran from an abusive ex. She finds out after she escaped she's pregnant. She gives birth, never puts the ex on the birth certificate, never tries to file for support because she wants to get as far away from him as possible. He finds out years later, and tries to rope her back in using the child as leverage. She can just say no and the state has to let it go. There is, however, a provision: if the father was involved enough to know when the birth was, that he could submit his DNA to the state within 31 days of birth as a potential father, but that time has long passed. The law's designed this way on purpose. In the eyes of the family court, I am a random person, and I was never claimed to Emma. If you think the state wants all children to be claimed by fathers and will gladly submit any DNA test, whenever any potential father shows up, find a random single mom, call the family court and say you want to claim her child. I'm tired of everyone acting like all I needed to do was fill out 1 sheet of paper and this nightmare would end. Please, just call a lawyer for a free consultation, or post on legal advice and ask them. It doesn't work that way. AITAH has no consensus bot. Boop was NTA. Relevant comments. Commenter: seems like it would be possible to get a soda can or napkin. The child used to do a DNA test. I'm sorry for the child though. One crazy manipulative parent. Greater than noob. This isn't TV. You can't DNA test a child without that custodial parent's consent. Commenter. That's not entirely true. You can, it just won't be admissible in court. We all know you're not the dad, or she would have done this herself to get your money, if nothing else. Nope. If it is done, I want to it be admissible in court. I wouldn't want to give Natalie a chance to weasel out, if it by claiming we faked it. Commenter NTA. I can understand why someone would think that this is callous, but it's your business and you've every right to use humor to try to deal with it. Don't say that to Emma. Considering that she believes your mom, that would be pretty rude. No, the burning question, how did she find Henry while he was on a field trip? Oop. We suspect Natalie befriended a mom at the school and got a class schedule, then dropped Emma off at the zoo to be with her brother. Since we are unrelated, I have no idea what school Emma goes to, or who Natalie's friends are. We are being very reactive to the situation, but because there are children involved, my lawyer said that that's the best we can do. And any type of investigation into Natalie being where to send legal paperwork could make it seem like a mutual contact and hurt any future ROs. Commenter, you could get a court-ordered DNA test. Her claims are slanderous. You could take her to court to prove paternity. Oop. Natalie has long since stopped calling me out for being a deadbeat online. She prefers to show up in person asking if I want to meet her daughter. The last time the cops confronted her about this, she claims that she only wanted me to act as a paternal father figure to her child. It really depends on the cops that show up. Commenter NTH. At some point it becomes draining, and the little girl is going to need some serious therapy. After everything is said and done, why don't you go to the courthouse and make her do one so it can come to an end? Oop. Because Natalie does not consent to it, and she said she's not seeking any sort of court-ordered support. So the court just shrugs and says get a protective order. Oop was asked if it's possible that RO can be applied to his son, since Emma stalked him at the zoo. Oop. A usual RO applies to immediate family, and can be modified for immediate family for both parties, which is what we are seeking now. Oop was asked about his state laws on the process of establishing paternity. Oop. In my state the laws are very clear about the process of establishing paternity. A mother can name a father, and then petition the father to submit DNA for testing. A father cannot do the same to a mother, except in a very, very specific situation, which is in a window of 1 month after the child is born. Anytime after that, a mother can simply deny having her child tested, which Natalie has done, repeatedly. June 17, 2024. Got off the phone with my attorney. We have a preliminary hearing on the new RO this week. We will most likely be issued a temporary RO, and then after that another hearing for the permanent RO. CPS is investigating Natalie and Emma's living situation. The teacher's report held a lot of weight, and my lawyer thinks that this might actually be a way to end the madness now. In family court, for minors, there exists something that's like a temporary, court-appointed guardian. I think the term is guardian ad litem, who is only a guardian for legal purposes and procedures and decisions of such, including for medical. If the family court appoints such for Emma, we can ask this temporary guardian for the DNA test. Get this put to ground. The madness might actually have an ending in sight. Adding here, I feel like I need to explain the relationship I had with Natalie all those years ago. When I got back from my 2-month assignment, I was already dead set on breaking up with her. Her "oh wait, I'm pregnant" was never going to make me marry her. In fact, I doubted she was pregnant for several weeks. The last year of our relationships, several red flags appeared in her behavior, ranging from demanding I check in with her while at work, only hang out with friends with her present, extreme bouts of jealousy if I ever seemed too friendly with women, including waitresses. I was in a line of work that demanded me being away for long stints, which she hated, but also kept me out of her reach for long periods of time. I think it was halfway through that last year, I realized that when I was away, I did not miss her. In fact, I was relieved to plop into a cot and fall asleep after long hours of work without thinking about her. When the pregnancy turned out to be real, I made it clear that with the paternity test, I would pay support, split custody, and be a co-parent and nothing more. She wanted me to be her husband. No question asked, no test, just pure blind faith and devotion to her and the child. The test, she insisted, was insulting. There was never going to be a relationship, and there was no relationship to salvage with Natalie. On the advice of the first attorney I hired, the deal was no test, no contact. Additional information from Oop on his work assignments, and how that played a role in the whole paternity, and his relationship with his ex. Oop. The nature of my job back then meant I was on assignment for weeks at a time, sometimes as long as 2 months. The amount of time I was home for the half year was small, and not all of it consecutive. Also, in relationships there's moments when you realize you aren't happy. You don't miss the other person, but it's still a bit of a fog you're working yourself through. Half-started conversation about where we see ourselves and seeing if there was anything left that are dropped, etc. Greater than I'd like to believe I wasn't codependent then, but lack of sleep and lack of stretches of contact made it to where longing for normalcy meant longing for even the bad. Familiarity is a fucking killer. Greater than that last trip was one where during it I steeled myself that when I got home I was going to break up. Greater than also, we were never going to be in a relationship afterwards. In the past 14 years all of the friends we had as mutual have worked their way out of my contact list. I don't see her parents. She doesn't see mine. We have no social circles in common anymore. Greater than what does she have to lose to claiming me as the father and me taking the test? Public stigma. I wouldn't be talking to her friends. She can tell them whatever the fuck she wants. She could brag about how I covet. I wouldn't know, and I most likely wouldn't dispute it if I was the father. No, it sounds like you interpreted a very, very entertaining theory. Court update June 20th, 2024. The preliminary hearing on the new RO went well. Emma and Natalie were there, and we discovered that Emma is currently living with her great-grandmother and has a guardian and litem court-appointed guardian on legal matters. My lawyer thinks this means whatever was found in Natalie's home situation warranted removing Emma, and potentially severe enough that the great-grandmother only has physical custody and the need to appoint a guardian and litem. During the hearing, we went through the whole song and dance, the past ROs, the whole deal. My lawyer turned to Emma's representative and said, "We were willing to submit to a DNA test and put this to bed." Natalie looked like she was having a conniption at that, and her own lawyer urged her to shush. Emma's representative accepted, and we were cheek-swabbed in the courthouse. A temporary order is now in place while a second hearing is scheduled in the upcoming weeks for the permanent 2-year order. The order covers immediate family on both sides, and as I've detailed in the past, Natalie is actually good with following court orders. Oddly, we have about 4 weeks before we have the definitive test results back, but I'm not too worried either way. P.S. There was some people who thought the court couldn't use charity as a cudgel was the father. Well, that's Jin. Haven't talked to Jin in 10 years, but Jin is gay and hated Natalie. He just also happened to be a give the shirt off his back kind of dude, and as long as I knew him volunteered at a food pantry. His protests came mostly from naivety not self-interest. Northeast W updates. Paternity update July 15th, 2024. 1 month later. We got the results in late last week, as did Emma's party. I am not the father. Natalie had a major blow-up when she heard the news from her grandmother. Sylvia M is currently living at Sylvia's and is out of Natalie's custody. This blow-up included a major tantrum on my front lawn, which also violated the temporary RO. Natalie has been arrested and Sylvia hasn't bailed her out. Sylvia has communicated to my lawyer that she wanted to give her apologies, bankrolling Natalie's life the past 15 years. I only met Sylvia a few times when I was dating Natalie, and I know Natalie grew up with her, and Sylvia had money, but was never really told the extent of that. Sylvia has communicated, via my lawyer, which is technically allowed with the RO in place, that both she and Emma want to send me an apology via a letter. I told my lawyer they were free to write whatever letters they wanted, as long as this was the last communication we had with them. The permanent RO is certainly going to be granted now, with the emergency one violated. We still don't know what caused Emma to be removed from Natalie's care, or if Natalie has any underlying issues. If we do get the letters, I will post them. Relevant comments. Commenter, hopefully this will end the harassment, and even though you knew she wasn't your daughter, now you have the proof. Commenter, I feel for Emma. I mean, look at her maternal influence, but I am glad that you finally have answers, and can hopefully keep Natalie away from you and your family permanently from now on. Got the letters, July 21st, 2024. I got them Friday, after my lawyer read them and deemed them okay. Sylvia's letter was detailing Natalie had a rough family life, stuff I already knew about Natalie's father running out, then her mother, leaving Sylvia to raise her. A lot of I did my best with what I had. Sylvia detailed that her and Emma will be okay. She does still have some money, not fuck you money, but enough that Emma will have enough to get a very decent jumpstart in life when she turns 18. Sylvia housed Natalie and Emma in a house she owned in the city, while Sylvia lived about an hour north. Out in the country, she sent Natalie money monthly for expenses, and saw them about 4 times a year: birthday, Easter, Thanksgiving, Christmas. As to Emma's living situation, the only thing Sylvia said was the photos she saw of the city house broke her heart. Needless to say, Sylvia pledged to not enable Natalie anymore. Emma's letter was a lot sadder. It started with father who is not my father, which I found weird. She detailed how Natalie told her that if she behaved, I would accept her. My acceptance of her hinged entirely on Emma doing as told. Emma said Sylvia has her in therapy, and that Natalie told them both that I was dodging the test using legal loopholes. She said seeing me suggest the test in person made her feel like Natalie was right. I was able to accept her. She felt happy and hopeful. When the results came in, she said that was worse than not knowing at all. She apologized for scaring my son, brother who is not my brother, as she said in the letter. There is a weird tone to her letter, and I feel like she is coming to terms with things. The letter did hurt to read, but both of them pledged to not interact with any of us anymore. Natalie is still in jail. Maybe it's finally over. Commenter, this is heartbreaking for Emma. This poor girl has been lied to and led to believe her behavior was why you didn't accept her. Her mother obviously had her extremely convinced. There was no other option. It seems clear she only wanted connection with her father, and now she's found herself without one and no knowledge of whom it may be. Never mind the fact her mother has lied to her for her entire life. Thankfully it sounds like she is with someone who will do what they can to make sure she heals from this as much as could be possible. Hopefully therapy is effective for her. She sounds to have a sense of humor about it though. The father that is not my father and brother that is not my brother is a bit funny. That's a coping mechanism. I hope she does well and glad to hear you should at least be done with worrying about Emma contacting you again. Hopefully, Natalie will probably still be a problem, but hopefully the next 2 years will give her time to think about her actions and maybe be more concerned about her daughter than dragging you into her drama. Story 2. AITAH for making my husband do things for our child. July 20th, 2024. I-30. SF was assigned to cook for my husband's family during a week-long trip. 11 adults for kids. Saturday down to eat after cooking for a few hours, and our child asked for a condiment and a drink. I asked my husband 40s if he'd mind getting it, and he had no issue and got up. My Mel and his aunt had a fit about this and said, why am I treating him like a servant? I could get up and take care of it so my husband could relax. He had been all day. They've been cold and mean and not speaking to me. I'm wondering if I should have done it myself, or if I should just ask my husband if we can go home. I've got 4 days left. Relevant comments. Top comment, the reason OOP is voted info. Please explain how you were assigned to cook. Nobody except my supervisor assigns me to do anything, and I still have the option of saying no, though there could be consequences. In what way were you making your husband do anything? He could have said no. Greater than OOP. Sorry, I tried to make the post short. His aunt rented the Airbnb. We paid it back. Greater than I'm a really good cook, and his family loved my cooking, so it was my night to do the cooking. All the women were signed in. Commenter, are your Mill and his aunt typically the set in traditional gender roles? Why in the world would getting the condiment and drink make him a servant and not you? Also, do you have to cook all week or was this just your night? NTA, but if you asked to go home, you'll really turn this into something big. Greater than OOP. More info. I tried to make it short in the op. This was just my night to cook, but it is all the women that are cooking. Greater than his aunt is a single mother and her sons have never been taught to cook and their girlfriend's idea of cooking is PBJ. She set the chores as this was her idea and she paid for it. We all sent the money to her. Greater than I just feel so low. I'm stuck in this tiny bedroom, smallest in the Airbnb BTW, and being the only married couple kinda felt like a slight while everyone outside relaxing. Greater than husband was hanging with me, but his mother asked to speak with him. It's been an hour. I tried to go out but they all got silent and quiet, and just stared at me till I went inside. Commenter, that sucks. Did your husband stick up for you, or offer to help you cook? Greater than OOP. He did stick up for me and say it's no big deal, but his aunt was yelling at him to sit down and his mother just glared at me. Greater than I love my husband to death. He's good at a great many things, but I didn't feel like getting food poisoning tonight. Greater than tensions already seemed really high as took the boat out and I was wearing an appropriate two-piece. Think sports bra kinda bathing suit with long sleeves and swimming shorts. Greater than but his aunt called me a hussy, and only little girls wear two-pieces, and I need to respect the pull around me. Commenter, are the other people in the larger bedrooms and they're alone, while the two of you have to share the smallest? Greater than OOP. It's a 6-bedroom house. Only one other family member brought their partner, but they all brought their kids. Greater than his mom originally wanted us to have a different room but his aunt refused. She's like the family bully, is what I am guessing. Greater than husband came back and we're talking about what went down. Will update? The verdict on the post is needs more info due to the top comment, but most comments were NTA. Edit same post, same day. Edit, so his aunt arranged the Airbnb. She assigned the rooms and the chores. She has made other comments to me on this trip that have made me feel bad about myself. Husband just came in after being outside talking with his family for the last hour, and he won't go into details but said that we will be staying, but if they say one more comment or if I feel any more discomfort we will be leaving. We want to stay as we have some fun events that we don't want our child missing out on tomorrow and Monday. Relevant comments. Commenter and TA. If they're not speaking to you, just consider that a bonus. I wouldn't want to hear anything assholes like that have to say anyway. If you really want to get it again, well, you could say to them, if I knew that's all I had to do to get you to shut your yapping cake holes, I would have done it sooner. Greater than noob, that's kinda my plan. Just avoid and do our own thing the best we can. Greater than he didn't say much, but that his aunt doesn't want her sons, GF, to think she can boss him around like I do my husband. Sexist, right? Greater than he said that this will be the last time he makes me suffer going on a vacation with them and will take me to some tropical island next year to make up for it. Commenter, I just read your edit, and I agree with the idea of staying so your kid doesn't miss out on fun. But what the hell is this? He won't go into details but said that we will be staying. Greater than noob, he told me some of the brief details, but didn't want to repeat the sexist and rude comments his aunt made while his mother just stayed quiet. Greater than he did tell me that his aunt didn't want her son's GF to think that they could boss her son around like I do my husband or to dress inappropriate like myself. Greater than I've got a lot of insecurities about my body image and he tries to protect me. I'm 5'2" BS and worked hard to lose a lot of baby weight. So I was proud and thought wearing inappropriate very covered to piece would be okay. I was called a hussy. Update same post, July 21st, 2024 next day. Final update. So this morning while getting ready the cousin's GF came and spoke to me, said that what they said was completely wrong and disrespectful, and that she doesn't believe what they said about me. Made me very happy. Anyway, as we were heading out to go hiking his aunt couldn't help herself, I guess, and said at least I don't look like I belong on a pole like I did yesterday. My 5-year-old yelled at her and said to stop being mean to my mommy before we could say anything. My husband had a few choice words for her in front of everyone. So anyway, we are driving home. Relevant comments. Commenter, so what treats will the kiddo be getting for defending mom? Seems like you're doing a good job there, and have good backup from your spouse. Greater than oop. We are taking him out to his favorite restaurant for dinner once we get back into town, and to his favorite ice cream shop to have a sundae. Greater than my husband really went for the kill after his aunt's comment, cause I was lacing up my hiking boots. He had our son go up to the room and get his bag, and bent down to help lace up my boot for me. Greater than he then told his aunt that I am his partner, not his maid or servant, and that she was a jealous witch that attacks me because she wishes she looked as good as I did, and that he was lucky to have a hard-working wife and mother to his child who also looked amazing. Greater than that we do things for each other as a team, and that she is just a miserable old witch, and we wouldn't be seeing them again. Greater than they've been blowing up his phone but he turned it off. Greater than Oot follows up with, I won't say we are perfect or never have fights or innocent spats over the most silly things, but one thing is for sure, after 15 years, we won't let each other be disrespected, and we always have each other's backs. Greater than that is what we are hoping to teach our son, to that even though things may get rough in life, we handle them with grace and respect and always have each other. Story 3. Parents changed their mind on attending my female 18HS graduation after my church announced their own in 2 weeks, and they want me to attend that instead. I am not the up of this post. The boob is so divided by THROWR AITAH 381. The original post was trending near the top of along with the update a few weeks later. June 25th, 2024. So I'm writing this because my college plans were approved as of Sunday, June 16th. I'll be graduating this week, and my ceremony is later this week. However, my church announced that they'll be doing their own graduation ceremony on July 7th, where they'll have church graduates walk down the aisle of the sanctuary during service to be recognized and receive prayer, and the pastor announced it on the 16th. According to my parents, he said it was important to make sure the next generation rooted their future in God, and the church will be having a BBQ after service in honor of the graduates. However, I haven't attended church since I was 16 due to an incident I'll explain later, but my parents seem hell-bent on making sure I attend not just the church graduation but church from now on too, and they added strings to prior agreements that were never attached. Before the church graduation was announced, my parents agreed to split tuition with me to attend a community college. Upon me finding a job this summer, I planned to transfer afterward to finish my bachelor's. However, after the announcement, My parents said they weren't going to attend my graduation, and that I wasn't allowed to either. A complete 180 out of nowhere. We even invited relatives to attend from out of state, but my parents already told them to attend the church graduation instead, and I feel like they pulled the rug from under me. When I said I still plan to attend my HS graduation with friends, they threatened to rescind their offer to pay for college if I went and didn't come to the church one, and I just feel blindsided by this. When I tried to explain how they changed their mind out of nowhere, they said that the pastor talked about how people lost their way in college by disregarding faith and morals, so they weren't gonna pay for me to go and change because of worldly influences. But when I said that I would pay for tuition myself without them if I find a job, while still attending the HS graduation, they said they'd charge me rent starting in July, which is unfair because I'm yet to find a job. I've been applying like crazy the past few weeks, and I have a few interviews lined up too. They're just trying to make me return to church after I stopped attending 2 years ago, and I've been really frustrated with their flip-flop. They said they're doing this because they made mistakes in college before later finding God, and they didn't want me to make the same ones too. The last thing I'll add is this. I was bullied in that church in the past, and I reached my breaking point 2 years ago. The youth had a campout on the grass behind the church where I was hazed by this really annoying girl, and no one did anything, including the assistant invited by chaperone in our tent. There were stupid pranks that were made in good fun, but the most hurtful thing was when that one girl made jokes divided by comments about my body divided by weight when we were changing that really hurt, and our tent chaperone didn't do anything when I told her afterward because she wasn't in there as we changed. This is just one of many things with this girl during youth group, when leaders weren't looking, but that was the most hurtful. However, to my surprise, my parents took my side and didn't make me attend youth group after that, and they let me stop attending for the most part to my surprise. I miss how they were reasonable in the past and hope that they can be reasonable again with me here. Most of my relatives are also churchgoers and have agreed to attend the church graduation instead, and I just need advice because it all happened so fast, and it especially hurts that they don't want to attend my HS graduation. My friends are in HS, and I don't consider anyone in our church's youth group to be my friend, so of course I want to graduate with my friends, but I can't pay rent. Just a few things I want to clear up. 1. I'm scared of them taking stuff out of my room and putting them outside if they see me attend the HS graduation because they know when it is, and I'm afraid to come back, and they won't let me in if they're that far into their nonsense. For that reason, I'm weighing the risk of attending even if it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. We don't have a lease, and I'm going to see if a friend's parents can home me in case, and even help me find legal advice. But I'm willing to skip my HS graduation if it helps me long-term, and I'm unable to find temporary stay with a friend. I'll also talk to my non-church-going relatives, because I don't want anyone reeling anything to my parents, and that includes my older sister who's moved out but still attends church, and is close with my parents' opinions on religion and politics. The pastor didn't schedule the church graduation on a conflicting day with my or anyone's HS graduation. The church graduation will take place on a Sunday during service, where graduates will walk down the aisle to receive prayer followed by a church-wide BBQ in the back of the church afterwards in honor of the graduates. My parents made the BS of forcing me to only attend the church graduation instead of my HS one. The pastor never said that. July 20th, 2024 update. I was unable to update sooner due to my phone being taken away, but I'll explain why. A few people suggested reaching out to some non-religious relatives to see if they could help or even provide shelter if they tried to throw me out, and I decided on my end after having no success with friends. I told some friends first about everything my parents threatened, but long story short, they talked to their parents who were unable to take me in, and they said it was last minute or mostly busy with their own things divided by graduations too. I then tried my aunt and told her everything too, and she said I could stay with her soon, but not in time for my HS graduation because it was really short notice. She said I could at some point this summer, and she wasn't initially coming to my graduation because she lives on the other side of the country, but she said she would try to talk some sense into my parents, and that led to my phone being removed. My parents didn't like that I told her because it was none of her business according to them. I don't know what was said on the call, and they threatened to turn off my phone plan unless I gave them my phone, and I caved when they were yelling at me and gave it to them along with my laptop. They wanted to because they threatened to kick me out sooner than July for talking about them to my aunt because she could tell others. They also said that they'd put my stuff outside while I was at the HS graduation if I attended, so they would kick me out that night instead of their original threat to start charge me rent in July. So for those reasons plus another I'll say in a moment, I decided not to attend my HS graduation because I wouldn't be able to enjoy it. I was already having anxiety about what they'd do to my stuff while there. and I didn't want to be homeless when I returned. I also had a loss of motivation to do other things leading up to it. Hobbies like sports, hanging out, or even watching TV. I knew I wouldn't enjoy it, because I was already dreading it before it happened, and my anxiety there would be worse than the lead up. I also didn't want to wear a smile the whole time, with none of my family in attendance either, and I didn't think I could hide it emotionally either. I also decided to attend the church graduation to get it over with, and I rationalized it like I did with other things growing up. I was forced to go to youth group and kids choir growing up, and I was forced to be baptized too. This was no different. Just 5 minutes of the pastor calling all graduates on stage to pray for them, and they didn't even give us a gift like on Mother's Day lol. All my life, I've had to suck up things I hated at church, and the church graduation was less tedious than the pre-baptism classes. They were mandatory because it was only 5 minutes on stage, compared to 3 weeks of baptism classes. Some relatives came, gave me money from cards, and we ate lunch at a restaurant afterward, something we did when my dad was elected to a church position years ago, and invited friends to see him get installed before lunch afterward. I'm pretty used to the song and dance, and this was easier divided by shorter than other church BS. My parents also returned my phone after the church graduation, and a lot of my anxiety lessened when I decided to skill my graduation. Don't get me wrong, I'll always hate them for it, and I'm no longer accepting their help for college either. I'm gonna find a job, hopefully too if part-time, and try to move out over the summer if I can, and I won't talk to them again afterward. Because of their stress, I decided to skip a once-in-a-lifetime event to prioritize my mental health, because I wouldn't have enjoyed it anyway with the stress, and the fact that they're happy with me for obeying as they gave my phone back should allow me to find jobs without additional stress. They also withdrew their July rent threat, and everything's been peaceful since the church graduation, although I'll never forgive them for what they tried to do. I also expect them to threaten me with something else in the future too, so I hope to move out as soon as possible, even if it means staying with my aunt until finding a job. I'm glad she said I could stay with her, and hopefully the time until I do remains peaceful. Comments from the first post. Commenter, I can't speak for Op's parents' church, but ceremonies like these are super common, and absolutely not intended to replace graduation. The graduates are invited to attend in their cap gown from their court UAL ceremony, and it's meant to put them in front of the community as a whole as almost a coming-of-age thing to recognize them as adults and invite the church community to pray over them for their future. Many who own businesses or work in management will offer an internship, mentoring or a reference if they are personally familiar with them. So it's a way to say, hey, these guys are starting their journey to adulthood. Anyone who feels led to help support them through networking or whatever, here is our next generation. Oop, I will definitely look into a trade, but they said that they'll charge me rent in July if I attend my HS graduation and my church one. So it's the church one by itself, or nothing along with attending church afterwards. Commenter, it would be a shame if your parents missed your HS graduation. It's recognition of the work you did in school, and has nothing to do with the church. Can you try talking to them again, explaining how important their presence is to you? Maybe do both graduations if they come to both. Greater than Oop replied, I'm still leaning towards going, because my friends will be there and it's once in a lifetime. But I'm scared of their sudden threat to charge rent in July and not knowing how much or how soon I'll have a job after to pay for it. Like, what if they can throw me out and who knows how much they'll charge? And I've been applying for jobs like crazy the past few weeks before they pulled this nonsense. But that's no guarantee I'll get something by next month. Comments from the update. Commenter, I'm so sorry for you. Hang in there and wait it out until you can get to your aunt. This is not normal, and I hope you find peace, stability, and support. Commenter, you made it this far. Keep up the facade until you're out of their clutches. You'll have many more graduations and life milestones. High school graduation is a blip, and I don't even remember it at 37. Remember to have your money in a bank they don't know about and not in a joint account. Keep the Reddit and social media super hidden, so they don't discover you. Get your passport, social, birth certificate too. Commenter, you handled this the best you could. Get your ducks in row and leave. I would recommend a community college for your associate's degree. I will transfer directly to your state and divided by college. Verify, with both guidance department and missions at the state college, that all your CC credits will transfer. There are times they don't. Another option is trade schools. You can be out in the workforce in about 1 year, making good money. Your parents don't realize the damage they've done to your relationship. They are cult members and are unwilling to compromise. Go be your best self and conquer your dreams. Oop, I'm still trying to get past how they refused to attend my HS graduation. Like, the church graduation was during service on a Sunday, and it didn't conflict at all But they changed so quickly on how public school is worldly and government took God out of school nonsense that has nothing to do with my HS graduation that they paid for, so they could have attended both as I offered. But then they threatened me to only attend the church or have my stuff be put outside.